Hello, this is Dwight from For His Glory 700. I have to begin by saying, you know what, it's really strange looking into a video camera and attempting to express your thoughts, because it just makes you feel a little unnerved and strange, even though there's no one else in the room. Maybe that's the oddness of the whole moment, is that there is no one else in the room and it's as though I'm speaking to myself. But nevertheless, the reason why I'm making this video in part is I wanted to throw out a question out to those in YouTube land regarding two thoughts that I have, really, but it's one question. I'm a Sabbath keeper. My background is I attend a Seventh-day Church of God. It's not Adventist, it's not Seventh-day Baptist, but it is a Seventh-day Church of God. It's a Pentecostal church, so we believe in speaking in tongues and the manifestations of the Spirit. I myself have never spoken in tongues myself, but I've been around members in the church that I attend that have manifested, as it were, speaking in tongues. But a number of years ago, I was on YouTube because I love learning things and watching documentaries and so forth, and there's a lot of amazing bits of information that you can attain on YouTube. And obviously, as a believer in Yeshua HaMashiach, I watch a lot of videos regarding a lot of religious issues as it relates to other religions and Christianity and so on. And I was watching one particular video. I can't recall exactly what the topic was. I think it might have been related to election. I can't remember, to be totally honest with you. But nevertheless, in the video, I remember I was reading a comment section, because I always find that somewhat amusing when you're reading the comments of other YouTubers who are commenting on the video or commenting on what someone else has said. And one person had inquired of the other person if they were a Calvinist. And I really didn't know what that term meant at all. And so from that particular question of one person asking another person whether or not they were a Calvinist or an Arminian, basically began my investigation of exactly what was a Calvinist and exactly what was an Arminian. I came to the conclusion and the realization that the background that I was coming from was Arminian. And as I further investigated what the Bible has to say regarding man, free will, the salvation of men, how men get saved, and so on, I started to realize that if we allow the Bible to speak for itself, the actual truth is that Calvinism, or the Doctrines of Grace, ring more faithful and more accurate to what the Bible actually has to say about itself as it relates to the sovereignty of God, as it relates to man in his sin, as it relates to how men actually get saved, and so on. And so at the present moment, I absolutely believe in the Doctrines of Grace. I believe that Christ and the early church, the disciples, believed in the Doctrines of Grace. Obviously, the Doctrines of Grace per se as a title is not exemplified as such in the Bible, but obviously grace is spoken of frequently and throughout the entire Bible, from Genesis to Revelations. So my question to those of you in YouTube land is simply this: is it possible for me, or anyone else for that matter, to, on the one hand, believe in the observance of the Sabbath, which I do believe, it is one of the 10 Commandments, and I don't believe that in observing or keeping the Sabbath that you're a legalist, because usually speaking, oftentimes when people hear that you're a Sabbath keeper or you believe in the observance of the Sabbath, all of a sudden you're touted as a legalist. And I'm like, well, not really. You're a legalist only in the sense if you make the claim that you have to keep it as a means of your salvation. But the reason why I observe Sabbath is because it is what is required of us to do. It is being obedient to the words of Christ. Christ said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Now, I'm sure there's many that will say, well, there's many ways of understanding what Christ meant within the context that he said. But I know that the moral law, which is the 10 Commandments, shall not pass away. Regardless, I don't want to get into that too heavily. I just want to generally get your thoughts on whether or not, on the one hand, a person can faithfully observe the Sabbath and at the same time believe in the Doctrines of Grace. I don't believe it's an oxymoron, but at the church that I've attended, like I said, I attend the Seventh-day Church of God, which is Pentecostal somewhat in belief systems, like I said, speaking in tongues and so on, and the manifestations of the fruits of the Spirit. And I have had one engagement with the ministers at the church that I attend regarding the doctrines of grace, and so on. We are far from concluding the matter. There's a series of other meetings I would like to have with them. Clearly they are not in agreement with me in terms of the doctrines of grace, or Calvinism as others call it, or sovereign grace. But I believe it's biblically faithful and accurate, in keeping with the words of God, as also I do believe the observance of the Sabbath is as well. So again, question is, on the one hand, is it consistent for me to believe in keeping of the Sabbath as well as observing the doctrines of grace? I'm looking to hear from those that are Sabbath keepers as well as those that believe in the doctrines of grace. Please provide me with your feedback and your thoughts on the matter, and I believe a follow-up video will follow regarding the Sabbath as well as the doctrines of grace. Although there's so many people out there on YouTube that have brought out excellent videos and teachings regarding both. So once again, I thank you, and I pray that God may bless you as we push forward into 2013, and that ultimately His name will be glorified. God bless, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Goodbye.